BBC Radio 5 Live.
Prime Ministers who are leaving their job are entitled to hand out some honours when they go. This has been going back generations, this certain... completely lost the word. Tradition is the word I'm looking for, that have been going on for many years. Now, the Sunday Times has published what it says is a list of people that David Cameron wants to bestow an honour upon. And it's caused a bit of a row because lots of them are Remain campaigners or what many see as his friends or his close personal colleagues, staff of Downing Street and people like that. Let's get a bit more now. Speak to Eleanor Garnier, who's our BBC's political correspondent. Now, it's a leaked document, of course, this, Eleanor. We mustn't forget that. We haven't physically seen this document, but who apparently is on this list?
Yeah, you have emphasised it correctly. It is a leaked list, so we don't know that these names are the names that will eventually, end up being rewarded. And as you say, there's quite a big range on this leaked list from Remain campaigners like the guy who headed up the Remain campaign, Will Straw. Then it ranges through cabinet ministers, or now we should say former cabinet ministers. There's some Tory donors on the list too. And then there's this swathe of Downing Street staff, people that used to work inside number 10 for David Cameron, but also there is Samantha Cameron's former aide on this leaked list, and she's the one that's known to have been Samantha Cameron's stylist. So there's lots of different people on the list, and I think I would add that honours lists always really spark criticism and controversy.
Yeah.
We always hear calls of cronyism whenever we get honours lists coming out. And you pointed out that this isn't something new. When Prime Ministers leave Downing Street, they are entitled to this type of honours list. Actually, Tony Blair didn't have one. There had been a huge cash for honours route earlier in his premiership, so he didn't have an honours list when he left number 10. Gordon Brown, technically, he didn't have one either, although he did end up putting some names forward to what's called a dissolution honours list. So, he didn't technically have a resignation honours list, but there was a dissolution one that followed shortly after he left number 10. So, in a way, Sir John Major, as the last Prime Minister to have had an honours list like David Cameron, is obviously going to be using too.
And you make a really good point when you say, actually, all honours lists always spark some sort of controversy. But I was looking that, in fact, in 1976, Harold Wilson, his Prime Minister's resignation...
The famous lavender list.
The lavender list. Huge controversy there. So it isn't anything new in some ways. But tell me a bit about the political reaction that we've seen over the last 24 hours or so then, Eleanor.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, because obviously this list has been leaked, so people are reacting to something we don't yet know is fact. But the deputy leader of the Labour Party, Tom Watson, said it was an example of the old boys network. We've had Conservative MPs too being critical. Andrew Bridgens suggested it smacked of cronyism. UKIP's Nigel Farage said it amounted to rewards for failure. We did have some defence for the former Prime Minister last night. We heard from Sir Des Swain. He's actually a former minister. He was David Cameron's parliamentary aide, and he was saying, look, there's no need to get so excited about these honours lists. He says, look, these are relatively light ways of paying off debts of honour.
Now, tell me, finally, Eleanor, is it unusual that resignation honours haven't been approved yet? Is because they have to go through another process, don't they?
Well, the process is the Prime Minister the former Prime Minister in this case, gets to draw up their list. Then it gets sent through and the names on the list get vetted. And the names get vetted by a number of committees. There are 8 different honours committees. Each one has a particular area of life. So there's one for Parliament and politics. There's one for the economy, one for media and arts. So the names get sent through to those relevant lists and vetted. Once they've been looked at, the list goes back to the Prime Minister. And interestingly, technically, it goes back to the current Prime Minister. So technically to Theresa May, who then recommends the honours to the monarch, to the Queen, who then formalises the list. So at the moment, we're somewhere in the process of the names being vetted before they're being sent back to be formally accredited, if you like. And we don't know yet at what stage that will be. I've just been speaking to someone who has very good knowledge and close knowledge of how this all works. And they were saying, actually, this speculation that because there have been issues, that's why we've got a delay. Actually, they don't think there has been a delay. They think this is actually, we didn't expect to have a new Prime Minister in place so quickly. So this process would normally, if we'd gone along with the Tory leadership campaign all the way through the summer, this process wouldn't have been happening until September. So they were pointing out to me that actually things have moved along pretty quickly, considering, we had Theresa May in number 10 so soon after the referendum. OK, thanks very much, Eleanor. That's political correspondent Eleanor Garnier. Well, let's speak to a couple of people now about this. And I want to know from you as well, please. Have you ever received an honour, an MBE, CBE, maybe higher? Did it change your life? Or did you nominate someone for an award? Tell me about that process, please. And if you did get an award, how did it change your life? 0500 909 693. That's where you can call this morning. Or do text 85058. Well, Mark Llewellyn-Slade from an organisation called Awards Intelligence, who's an expert in the honours system, and Paul Flynn's a Labour MP and member of the Public Administration Select Committee, which has scrutinised the honours process. Morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Morning. Mark, let me start with you. So some pretty strong criticisms of this today, not only rewarding chums, but rewarding chums for having failed, as Tom Watson has said today. What do you think of this list?
I think we need to keep the whole thing in context, really. I think we're talking about less than 50 people, and around 2,500 people every year receive Queen's Honours, and the vast majority of those, sort of 70 to 80%, are so-called ordinary people who do great work in the community and for charity, or they're leaders in their field, like eminent surgeons, lawyers, business leaders, that kind of thing. So we are talking about a small number of people. But I do agree that we need to be careful that we don't devalue the honours list. And when you hear names, Isabele Spearman, the stylist that your colleague mentioned earlier, I think we have to ask ourselves the million-dollar question: have these people gone above and beyond the call of duty? Because people don't get honours for simply doing their job, or at least they shouldn't. And it literally is a million-dollar question, because, if Isabele Spearman gets an OBE, as that's been rumoured, then there'll be a queue the length of Mayfair of people wanting to sign her up as a stylist.
So she might make $1 million, what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's probably what a high-level gong is worth. Yeah,
I suppose we don't know. Maybe she has gone. Maybe she is the greatest stylist, if that's her official title, that the country's ever seen. We don't know, I suppose, do we?
Absolutely. If she's gone above and beyond the call of duty and she's a leader in her field, then she's eligible for one and she should get one. OK. Paul
Flynn. I mean, David Cameron, this is his resignation honours list. He can put on who he likes, can't he?
Well, I thought we got rid of these honours lists as Blair and Brown didn't use them in this way. But the whole honours system now is so corrupted and degraded that it doesn't deserve any respect. If you're a person in humble surroundings, somebody who looks after a zebra crossing or a postman, your chances of getting an honour is about 1 in 100,000. But if you give a donation to a political party or you're a pal of the Prime Minister, your chances are about 1 in 2. So it's a system that doesn't deserve to continue. We've got there was a lovely occasion where Michael Winner was offered an OBE, and he turned it down because he said this is the sort of honour you give to somebody who cleans the toilets at a station in London, its tube station, because there's that snobbery in it, and it's just reinforcing snobbery. And what we're in a situation now is that honours are sold. If you give a few £1 million to a political party, any of the three political parties, you'll get an honour. And you also have a very good chance of getting into the House of Lords. So the system is corrupt, and we should acknowledge that it is. And people who richly deserve honours, the unsung, humble people earning very low wages, are the ones that are ignored. And the rich,
they're not ignored,
the
though, are
privileged
they?
are the ones. Well, they've got very, very little chance. I mean, I've supported campaigns for local people. There was a doctor who retired and was greatly admired by his patients. No chance. You sign the papers, but it doesn't happen. But if you happen to be a crony of the Prime Minister, you in a most humble position, again, in the House of... I mean, the only person who didn't get an award in 10 Downing Street was the cat.
There's still time. There's still time, Paul. Let me bring in John now. John Ward, you got an OBE. You're a solicitor and you've done loads of charitable work. What do you make of what Paul's just said about Your Honour?
Yeah, good morning, Sam. No, I didn't get involved in cleaning any toilets, but I've been on a lot of committees over a lot of years, working for local charities. It came as a complete shock to me when I got a letter telling me I'd been awarded this honour. And I would agree that the chances of deserving people getting them are fairly a long time. I felt exactly that. But you just have to accept that a lot of undeserving people do get them, a lot of deserving people don't. But I don't feel that's any reason to condemn the whole system. The system works well. It's just the way it's used and the way people are nominated for it, I think, that needs to be addressed. Let's forget the fact you're British, so you're not going to be very good at answering this question, but did you deserve it? No, not really.
Why do you say no?
Well, that was my immediate reaction, and I don't particularly trumpet it now. I don't use it on my letters or emails or business cards or anything like that, but it was a huge honour, and it was a great day out for my family. I was thrilled to meet the Queen. It's brought a lot of pleasure to family and friends that I've got this thing, and it brings a bit of publicity to the various charities that I work for. So I don't see a downside to that aspect of it. Yes, I think we give a communal groan when we read some of the names that are put forward for these things, but it's the system that needs to be altered. I think it would be a terrible shame to cancel it altogether.
Just have a quick look, John. You're a father of 3. You, as I said, work as a solicitor. You also were on the chair of trustees for Galloway Society for the Blind, trustee for the Preston-based Deafway, legal expert, retired as trustee of the Darien House Children's Hospice, chair of the Harris Museum and Art Endowment Trust, acted as clerk for the parish of Preston for 30 years, senior burgess during the recent Guild celebrations in Preston. You're a busy man.
Well, yes. I'm sure that list is right. I really can't remember. But it sounds about right. Yes, I've got involved in these various things over the years. I hope I've made a contribution to them. As I say, this honour was a complete surprise to me. My wife, Helen, knew about it. She was involved in the process leading up to it. I knew absolutely nothing at all about it. It was a total shock. But as I say, it's a bit of fun, I suppose. It's lovely to be acknowledged, I suppose. I would certainly agree there are many, many hundreds of thousands of people who are more deserving of it than I am, but so
you sound pretty deserving to me. Yeah,
well, it's lovely.
But Paul Flynn, listening to what John has done there, he's so gone over and above it. As Mark Llewellyn-Slade was saying a moment ago, this is about people going above and beyond their jobs. That's exactly what John has done. He's served his local community. Why shouldn't he be honoured?
Absolutely. Great. Good luck to him. He's one of the rare people who deserve it. And I've got a proposal for a new honours system where there would be lots of Johns in it and very few of the rich and famous in it and the privileged in it. And if anyone would like to go on my blog, they'll see a submission I did about a reform system and pointing out the terrible weaknesses in the present system, which is very much gongs for those who are in favoured positions already. They're being given out, not like Johns, which were for good work, but they're given out like goodie bags at a children's party where everyone gets one if you know the Prime Minister or if you know the white people. But they are being sold. That cannot be right.
Let me just bring you some news. We've just got some news straight in, and this is actually quite interesting because Mike from Fulham has just texted to say, could the honours list have been leaked so that it could be embarrassing for Theresa May to turn names down? At the exact same time that text comes in from Mike, I get a bit of news in saying Prime Minister Theresa May will not intervene in the official process of approving her predecessor David Cameron's resignation honours list because it would set a very bad precedent, Downing Street has said. Mark Llewellyn-Slade, does this muddy the waters a bit?
Well, I think John, firstly, is being very humble. I think he epitomises what the honour system is all about, and celebrities always add a delicious dollop of spice and controversy to the list. But it's really about people like John, and they form the vast majority of the list. And with regard to your specific question about Theresa May, I can understand her not wanting to dirty her hands, if you like, on an issue like this so early in her reign.
But what do you make of what Paul just had to say, that, look, you can buy these things, you can pretty much buy them? Does that mean that people like John, who have worked hard, it just lessens the impact of people like him a little?
I don't think the honours system is corrupt, but look, I can understand people getting irritated by people getting gongs for making large financial donations to a political party. But they're all at it. Cameron's no different to Tony Blair, for example, who was embroiled in the Cash for Honours saga back in, I think, 2006. So it's a fact of life. However, we are talking about very small numbers of people, whether they be politicians, pop stars, or actors. And it's really about the vast majority, the 2,500 people like John who deserve their gong.
Go on, Paul, you wanted to come in.
Well, your guest from Awards Intelligence is part of the problem. He runs an organisation that, if you pay a large sum of money, he'll tell you how to get an honour, and he claims that it's a great advantage if you pay him the money, and he will tell you which charities to support, how to write your application form. But this is most people can't afford to pay this organisation, Awards Intelligence, in order to lobby for them, but it's a further part of a corrupted system that it's grossly unfair, that the deserving who really need the honours and should be recognised get very few of them, but those that are in privileged positions do get them. The honours committees are made up of people who have, there's 85 members of the committees who decide who has the honours.
Okay.
And they have 120 awards themselves.
Right, look, Mark, before you come back on that, Mark, I do want to ask you specifically, Paul, your reaction to this news that Theresa May said she will not intervene in the official process of approving her predecessor's list because it would set a very bad precedent.
Well, it just set a very good precedent, in fact, but I think Theresa May has already shown herself to be someone who's not imprisoned by precedent. She's just rejected at the very last moment the crazy scheme to build an EPR nuclear power station, Hinkley Point, something that won't work and hasn't worked anywhere. She's shown herself to be pioneering, but I think I'll be writing to her and giving her my plan for a new honours system and hope that she approves it.
So why do you think she's not going to intervene in this case then, if you believe she's a woman who would have no compunction in doing so?
Oh, it emphasises the failure of her predecessor. She doesn't want to rub his nose in it. I mean, he's given the awards to the people who were in the Remain campaign. The Remain campaign lost, and it's just outrageous that you give awards for failure, not for the people who actually succeeded in winning that referendum. But I think she doesn't want to embarrass her predecessor more than is necessary. His career ended in ruins. He wrecked his own premiership. Why rub his nose in it?
Mark, just finally a response from you on comments Paul Flynn was making about the organisation you work for, actually, Awards Intelligence.
Paul is talking poppycock. At the end of the day, we exist to help ordinary people nominate their friends, their family members, their business and community contacts. Well, that's not true, Paul, because a vast amount of information is freely available on our website. You can go on there now and download our free guide, and it will give you all the advice and guidance you need. And it's not saying come to us. It's saying this is how it works.
Okay.
If you know Bert from Bristol or Mavis from Macclesfield and they're worthy of an honour, then go for it.
Thank you very much. We need to leave it there. Thank you both.